Hello and welcome to Vietnam Journal, our daily English news bulletin on NetViet VTC 10. I'm Ngọc Ánh speaking from Hanoi. Every day we will bring you comprehensive and up-to-date information on Vietnam and following our major stories on Wednesday. Vietnam and Bulgaria hold business forum in Hanoi. Famous Austrian cellist to perform in Hanoi. And helicopter firm leader enjoying motorcycles in Vietnam. An economic forum between Vietnam and Bulgaria took place in Hanoi on Tuesday. The meeting was organized by Vietnam Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or VCCI, and Bulgarian Small and Medium Enterprises Promotion Agency.
10 Bulgarian firms majoring in different fields such as automation, industrial and optical machinery joined the forum. This time in Vietnam, they will study the local market and seek cooperative opportunities. VCCI says trade between two countries totaled $43 million in the first 7 months of this year. Vietnam mainly exports metal products, coffee and pepper. Meanwhile, Bulgaria mainly sells machinery, tin and wheat. VCCI also says that Vietnam and Bulgaria has great potential for cooperation in technology transferring and training.
Japan and Vietnam signed an agreement for establishing policy dialogue on logistics and distribution in Hanoi on Monday. This document is seen as an important framework for cooperation between the two countries.
Tadahiro Matsushita, Senior Vice Minister of Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, signed the document with his Vietnamese counterpart. The Japanese Vice Minister acknowledged the importance of logistics and distribution to the economy as well as the living standard of people. He expected that this agreement could help the two countries attain common targets. Japanese logistics companies are expanding their distribution networks in Vietnam, where big players have still not consolidated their positions. The total revenue of the logistics market in Vietnam reached some $12 billion last year.
Ho Chi Minh City's real estate market continued to face many difficulties in the third quarter, but the service apartment segment showed positive signs. The information was part of the third quarter Ho Chi Minh City's real estate report by Britain-based Knight Frank.
The report said the supply for service apartments in the third quarter was over 3,400 units. The occupancy rates remained high at more than 90% for Grade A and 80% for Grade B. The monthly average rental rate was stable at between $30 and $35 per square meter for Grade A and between $20 and $25 per square meter for Grade B. Decreased FDI reduced the number of expatriate workers by 5.2% on year in general. But a big increase in Asian workers from China, Japan and Malaysia not only fueled the reduction but also boosted demand across the sector. Knight Frank said developers should have more careful and flexible market researches and strategies.
And following is some business news in brief.
Vietnam is now the 8th largest supplier of garment and textile products to the European Union. The EU market made up 18% of Vietnam's total textile and garment export revenue in the first 9 months of this year. European data show that Vietnam's share in the EU textile and garment market has increased to 2.2% between January and May 2011, up 0.2% on year. Vietnam is estimated to need 24.5 trillion Vietnamese đồng or some $1.2 billion to further develop its seafood processing industry until 2020. About 13.4 trillion đồng of the capital will be invested in the 2011 and 2015 period. The investment will be mobilized from bonds, company shares and preferential state loans.
The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, or UNIDO, has sponsored a conference on the Science, Technology and Innovation, or STI, strategy of Vietnam to 2020 in Hanoi recently. Our reporter had a conversation with Professor Martin Franzmann, the founder of the Institute for Japanese European Technology Studies, or JETS, of the University of Edinburgh about the issue.
Thank you, Dr. Franz Mann, for joining our talk today. As an experienced expert in economy and science and technology and innovation, what do you think are important factors that contribute to the efficiency of technology cooperation between Vietnam and the UK?
I think probably the most important element is universities. In Britain, as you know, we have a very long-standing tradition of universities. My own university, Edinburgh University, was established in 1584. Of course, universities have existed in Vietnam for a very long time. These days, universities are very much involved in science and technology, and because Vietnam and Britain have universities, this creates the basis for very fruitful cooperation in the education area.
So among these elements, which one do you think Vietnam already had?
Vietnam has been a very rapidly growing economy. At the moment, Vietnam is growing by about 6 or 7% each year. This has been carrying on for a long time now. However, at the moment, because of the global financial crisis, growth in Europe is much less. And Vietnam is in East Asia, where the market is growing very rapidly. So I think there is also a lot of cooperation outside education in the field of trade and also in the field of investment. So I think there are new opportunities that are emerging for economic cooperation between the United Kingdom and Vietnam.
Can you give some examples of the STI education projects of the UK in Vietnam?
Yes, I think there are two examples that I think of. The first is that recently a British university has decided to locate in Da Nang, and the idea of a British university being available to Vietnamese students in Vietnam means that access to higher education will become easier for these people who will be able to get British degrees. The other example is the example of the British Council, which has been based in Vietnam for a long time already.
Thank you, Professor Franz Mann, for sparing the time to join our talk. I hope you will contribute a great deal to the future of Vietnam's technology and science. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'd be very happy to do that.
Vietnam Journal. It's not just news, it's life in Vietnam.
Welcome back to Vietnam Journal. The International Festival of Contemporary Art 2011 took place from September the 23rd to October the 9th in Mexico's Monterrey City. Artists from Vietnam's Thăng Long Water Puppetry Theatre took part in the event.
Thăng Long Water Puppet Theatre brought to this festival outstanding folk water puppet shows including dragon dancing, buffalo fighting and Quan Ho singing, among others. The Vietnamese artists performed 34 outdoor shows and taught water puppetry for students in many local schools. In 2007, Vietnam Puppet Union participated in the first Santa Lucia State Festival, where they first impressed Monterrey audiences. 2,600 artists from 31 countries attended this year's event with different art genres such as folk dancing, folk opera, and circus.
Outstanding Dutch cellist Harriet Kriek will perform with the Vietnam National Symphony Orchestra and Hanoi Philharmonic Orchestra. The performances are part of a series of classical concerts to be held in Hanoi from October the 13th to the 18th.
This is the first time Vietnamese audiences have enjoyed a classical concert by such a young artist. Harriet Craig will play alongside the Vietnam National Symphony Orchestra in the Beethoven's Triple Concerto concert conducted by Dorian Winston on October the 13th and 14th. The cellist will also play with the orchestra from the Vietnam National Academy of Music in the Tchaikovsky's Rococo Variations concert conducted by Austrian famous music director Wolfgang Groh on October the 17th and 18th. Since 2008, Harriet has been praised through many music contests in the Netherlands, Austria and other countries.
Jussi Hoiker from Finland has been in Vietnam for 6 months. The Finnish man is now the commercial director of Vinacopter, the first established helicopter dealership in Vietnam. He is also known as a motor racer who has won a couple of prizes in Asia. In his free time, he often repairs his bikes to make them go faster. Let's see his recent work in the following report.
Jussi said he started his love for motorbike at his early age. He got his first bike when he was 16. He was riding around everywhere and tried to make it go faster and did all the maintenance himself. He was learning with his father, who guided and helped him. Since then, he's always owned at least one motorcycle.
There's a funny saying that a lot of motorcyclists use. It's referring to the difference between cars and motorbikes. It's 4 wheels move the body, 2 wheels move the soul. And it's a funny saying that kind of describes it very well. It's motorcycles are just more fun. You know, you feel the open air. You're part of the environment where you're riding. You're not in some box. You know, you're completely immersed in the environment. So it's good fun, and of course it's a thrill.
The project he was working on is an old special bike. It had the same motor with the one in the classic Hollywood movie series of Indiana Jones. The Ukrainian bike has a BMW licensed engine. It makes something completely different for him than normal motorbikes.
You know, this is a 40-year-old motorcycle, so you know it needs constant care and maintenance. And in fact, I probably spend more time working on the bike than I do riding it. It's a lot of fun, you know. On a Sunday afternoon like today, it's raining outside, there's nothing much to do. Nothing better than taking a big cup of coffee and putting some music on in the garage and deciding to work on one part of the bike. Just one of those things where you kind of escape from the normal working life and then do something different.
Racing is something he will never forget. Of course, the best memory is when he wins. He won a couple of races in Malaysia and some other countries. After a lot of efforts on training, practicing and tuning the bike, the final victory is fantastic and memorable.
For example, in Dubai, we raced with about four of us in a very evenly matched race throughout the season, and we were changing places almost, you know, every other lap during the race, and that's something fantastic. You know, it's just everyone is riding on the limit as fast as they can possibly go, and another guy comes past you, but maybe on the next lap you'll go and get past him, and he's thinking, oh, you know, how do I get faster? And then we were crossing the line sometimes within a couple of hundredths of a second of each other, just everyone fighting to the last minute. It's just great fun.
Jussi hopes in the future there will be racing series in Vietnam for young riders. Nearly all Vietnamese people ride motorcycles, so this country may have many hidden talents. Besides, he also has a dream to use his bike to ride from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City to discover the beauty of Vietnam.
While the Finnish man's motorbike story has wrapped up our Vietnam Journal for today, from all of us here at NetViet VTC 10, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow.